The morning sun cast long shadows across the crystal formations of New Busan Colony. Hyunwoo Park stood at his office window, watching the mining crews prepare for another day of work. The floating islands above the planet's surface sparkled, like diamonds in the early light. After 15 years as colony administrator, he still found the view breathtaking. "Sir, we have a problem." Ji-Eun Kim's voice cut through his peaceful moment. The communications officer burst into his office, her face pale with worry. "Long-range sensors are picking up something massive approaching our system." Hyunwoo turned from the window. "How massive?" "Over 200 contacts, sir. They're big. Really big." Ji-Eun pulled up the sensor data on the wall display. "The computer can't identify the ship designs. They're not in any of our databases." Hyunwoo studied the screen. The approaching fleet looked like nothing humanity had ever built. The ships were organic-looking, with curved surfaces that seemed to pulse with their own light. They moved in perfect formation, like a school of deadly fish swimming through space. "How long until they reach us?" he asked. 18 hours at their current speed." "Start broadcasting first contact protocols immediately," Hyunwoo ordered. "All standard frequencies. Let them know we're peaceful and want to talk." Ji-Eun nodded and rushed back to her station. Within minutes, New Busan was sending friendly messages toward the alien fleet. The colony had practiced this moment for years. Earth's colonies were humanity's first line of contact with alien life. They were ready. Hours passed with no response. The alien fleet continued its steady approach. Hyunwoo called an emergency meeting of the colony's leadership. Security Chief Tai Min-yoon looked worried as he studied the tactical displays. "Sir, these ships are armed," Taemin reported. "Heavy weapons. Our orbital defense platforms won't stand a chance if they decide to attack." "They haven't responded to any of our messages," Ji-Eun added. "I've tried every frequency, every protocol we have. Nothing." Hyunwoo felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. "Keep trying. Maybe they just don't understand our communications. Yet." But as the alien fleet entered the outer system, it became clear that communication was not their goal. The lead ships opened fire without warning. New Busan's 3 orbital defense platforms disappeared in brilliant flashes of green energy. The aliens were not here to talk. "All civilians to emergency shelters," Hyunwoo broadcast across the colony. "This is not a drill. We are under attack." The alien fleet split into smaller groups. Some ships remained in orbit while others descended toward the planet's surface. As they came closer, the colonists got their first look at their attackers through the colony's cameras. The ships were alive. They pulsed and moved like giant insects. Strange lights ran along their surfaces in patterns that hurt to look at. When they opened, creatures emerged that looked like nightmares made real. The aliens stood 8 feet tall on 6 legs. Their bodies were covered in hard black shells that gleamed like metal. Multiple arms ended in claws that could tear through steel. But the most terrifying thing about them was their eyes, dozens of small red lights that seemed to see everything. "What are they?" Ji-Eun whispered as they watched the aliens deploy across the colony's outer districts. "Kethavar," came a voice from the communications array. The aliens had finally responded, but not with words of peace. "We are Kethavar. You will serve the hive." The translation was rough, processed through their computer systems, but the meaning was clear. These creatures had not come to make friends. The battle for New Busan was short and brutal. The colony's security forces fought bravely, but their weapons barely scratched the aliens' armor. The Kethavar moved with perfect coordination like parts of a single mind. They didn't kill the colonists. They captured them. Energy fields sprang up around groups of humans, trapping them in glowing cages. Children cried as they were separated from their parents. Families reached for each other across barriers of crackling energy. From his command center, Hyunwoo watched his colony fall. The Kethavar were not random raiders. They moved with purpose, taking specific people and ignoring others. They seemed to know exactly what they wanted. "Sir, they're heading for the main power plant," Taemin reported. His security teams were falling back toward the colony center. "We can't stop them." "The quantum relay," Ji-Eun said suddenly. They haven't found the quantum relay yet. Hyunwoo understood immediately. The quantum communication system was hidden in the old mining tunnels. It was their only way to contact Earth. But the relay had limited power. Enough for maybe one message. "Can you get there?" he asked. Jiyeon nodded. "The tunnels connect to this building. But sir, what message do we send?" Hyunwoo looked at the displays showing his people trapped in energy cages. He thought about the families being torn apart, the children who would never see Earth again. These aliens didn't want to negotiate or trade. They wanted slaves. "Send everything," he said. "Our location, the alien ship designs, their technology, their numbers, and send an SOS. Just an SOS? Sometimes the simplest messages are the strongest," Hyunwoo replied. "Earth will understand." Jiyeon disappeared into the maintenance tunnels as Kethvar forces surrounded the command center. Hyunwoo could hear them cutting through the doors. He had maybe 10 minutes before they broke through. In the quantum relay chamber, Jiyeon worked frantically to compile the data. Every scan, every recording, every piece of information about the Kethvar went into the message. At the end, she added 3 simple letters, SOS. The message shot into space just as the Kethvar broke down the command center doors. The quantum burst would take 6 months to reach Earth, traveling faster than any ship could follow. Hyunwoo raised his hands as the aliens entered. Their leader was massive, even by Kethvar standards. Strange devices covered its shell, and its many eyes focused on him with intelligent hatred. "I am Hive Prime Zekthar," the creature said through a translation device. "Your people will become part of the Hive. Your knowledge will serve us. Your bodies will be improved." "We are not your slaves," Hyunwoo said firmly. The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "All organic life serves the Hive. You will understand soon." As the energy field closed around him, Hyunwoo looked up at the stars through the broken ceiling. Somewhere out there, his message was racing toward Earth. He hoped it would be enough. The last free human on New Busan smiled as the aliens dragged him away. They had won this battle, but they had no idea what they had just started. The quantum communication array in Antarctica picked up thousands of signals every day. Most were routine messages from Earth's colonies, shipping reports, scientific data, family letters. Dong-Hyun Lee had been monitoring deep space communications for 12 years, and he thought he had seen everything. That changed on a cold Tuesday morning when his computer flagged an unusual signal. "What is this?" he muttered, pulling up the data on his screen. The signal was weak and broken, like it had traveled much farther than normal quantum messages. Most strange was the source. It came from the direction of New Busan colony. Dong-Hyun frowned. New Busan sent regular reports every month. Their last message had been 6 months ago, right on schedule. This signal was different, urgent, and compressed, like someone had tried to pack as much information as possible into a single burst. He ran the signal through the computer's translation programs. Most of it was technical data about ships and weapons he had never seen before. At the end, 3 letters made his blood run cold. SOS. "Manager Kim," he called to his supervisor. "I need you to see this." Manager Kim looked at the data and immediately reached for the red phone on her desk. Within an hour, the message was on the desk of Admiral So-Young Choi at the Terran Space Force headquarters in Geneva. So-Young had been expecting this day for 30 years. Not this exact situation, but something like it. Humanity had been spreading across the galaxy for decades. Eventually, they would meet someone who was not friendly. She studied the technical data from New Busan with her staff. The alien ships were unlike anything in Earth's databases. Their weapons were powerful enough to destroy orbital platforms in single shots. Their technology seemed to blend biology with machines in ways that human science barely understood. "How many people were on New Busan?" she asked her aide. 50,000 civilians plus the mining and security staff. So Young felt sick. 50,000 people, including families and children. The data from New Busan showed clear signs of capture, not murder. The aliens had taken them alive. But for what purpose? The answer came from the technical analysis. Buried in the alien communication frequencies were human voices, distorted and changed, but definitely human. The colonists were not just prisoners. They were being turned into something else. Get me President Yang on secure communication. So Young ordered. President Min Ho Yang listened to the briefing in silence. When So Young finished, he stared at the data for a long time. The situation was worse than anyone had imagined. Humanity's first contact with alien intelligence was with a species that treated other beings as raw materials. What are our options, he asked. We can try to open diplomatic contact, suggested Foreign Minister Park. Maybe we can negotiate for the colonists' release. With what? So Young asked sharply. These aliens didn't try to communicate. They didn't demand tribute or territory. They just took our people. The data shows they've done this before to other species. She pulled up additional analysis from the quantum message. Computer translation of their communications shows references to at least 12 other species, all described as integrated into the hive. Sir, these are not diplomats. They are slavers. The President convened an emergency session of the Global Security Council. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered to discuss humanity's response. The debate was heated, but not about whether to respond. Everyone agreed that Earth could not abandon the New Busan colonists. The question was how. We need more information, argued the Chinese representative. We don't know how many ships they have or where their home systems are located. We know enough, replied the American Secretary of Defense. They have superior technology and they're using our people as slaves. Every day we wait, more colonists suffer. What if we're not ready? Asked the European Union representative. What if we attack and lose? Earth itself could be at risk. So Young stood up to address the council. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to share something with you. Something that has been classified at the highest levels for 20 years. She activated a holographic display showing ship designs unlike anything the council had seen. Sleek, angular, vessels that looked more like weapons than spacecraft. For the past 2 decades, Earth has been preparing for this exact scenario. The Retribution fleet has been under construction in hidden shipyards throughout the solar system. These ships were designed for one purpose: to defend humanity against threats that cannot be reasoned with. The council members stared in shock. Ships of this scale represented the largest military project in human history, and most of them had never even heard of it. Why was this kept secret? Demanded the Russian representative. Because fear of alien contact might have prevented human expansion, So Young replied. But also because we hoped we would never need these ships. The data from New Busan proves we were wrong to hope. President Yang made the decision that would change human history. Admiral Choi, you have full authorization to deploy the Retribution fleet. Bring our people home. All of them? So Young asked. All of them, the president confirmed. And send a message to the galaxy. Humanity does not abandon its own. So Young returned to her headquarters and activated protocols that had been waiting in computer systems for years. Across the solar system, hidden shipyards received the activation codes. The Retribution fleet began to wake up. The flagship, UES Incheon's Pride, was the largest warship humanity had ever built. Its captain, Jae Sung-kang, had been training for this mission his entire career. He had studied every piece of data from New Busan, memorized every detail of the alien technology. Sir, all fleet elements report ready, his communications officer reported. 847 ships are standing by. Jae-sung looked out at Earth through the bridge windows. Somewhere beyond the stars, 50,000 humans were trapped by aliens who saw them as nothing more than tools to be used. The Kethvar had made one crucial mistake. They thought humanity would accept the loss of a single colony as the price of staying safe. They were about to learn how wrong they were. All ships, prepare for hyperspace jump, Jae-sung commanded. Destination, New Busan system. Mission, bring our people home. As the fleet disappeared into hyperspace, So Young stood in her command center watching the tactical displays. The journey would take 11 months. 11 months for the Kethvar to continue their work on the colonists. 11 months for humanity, to plan exactly how to make them pay for what they had done. The message from New Busan had been just 3 letters. SOS. Earth's response would be written in laser fire and nuclear flame across the stars themselves. The hidden shipyards beyond Jupiter had been humanity's greatest secret for 20 years. Built inside hollowed-out asteroids and concealed behind sensor screens, they had constructed the Retribution fleet in absolute silence. Now, as captain, Jae-sung Kang walked through the corridors of the UES Incheon's Pride. He marveled at what human determination could accomplish. The ship was nothing like the elegant exploration vessels that carried colonists to distant worlds. Every line of the Incheon's Pride spoke of violence held in check. Its hull was angular black metal that absorbed sensor scans. Its weapons were designed not for defense but for destroying things that needed to be destroyed. Captain, Dr. Haewon Song approached him in the main corridor. The xenobiologist looked tired. She had been working around the clock since the New Busan data arrived. I have the analysis you requested. Jae-sung followed her to the science laboratory. The walls were covered with displays showing alien biology, technology, and tactical patterns. Everything humanity knew about the Kethvar was here, and it painted a terrifying picture. They're not just conquerors, Haewon explained, pointing to biological scans. They're collectors. Every species they encounter gets integrated into their technology. They don't see other life forms as enemies or even slaves. They see them as components. The data showed how the Kethvar took captured beings and connected them to their biomechanical systems. The victims remained conscious but lost control of their bodies. Worse, their knowledge and skills became part of the alien hive mind. How many species have they done this to? Jae-sung asked. At least 40 that we can identify from the New Busan data. Probably more. Haewon pulled up genetic analysis charts. Captain, some of these integrations are centuries old. The Kethvar have been doing this for a very long time. Jae-sung studied the displays. The Kethvar saw themselves as perfecting other species by absorbing them. In their twisted logic, they were doing their victims a favor by making them part of something greater. Do they have any weaknesses? That's the interesting part, Haewon said with a grim smile. They've never faced a species like us. She brought up tactical analyses comparing human warfare to Kethvar patterns. The aliens fought with overwhelming superiority, using their advanced technology to crush resistance quickly. They expected other species to either surrender or die fighting hopeless battles. They don't understand strategic retreat, Haewon explained. They don't understand deception or misdirection. Most important, they don't understand fighting for principles rather than survival. Jae-sung nodded. Every species the Kethvar had conquered had fought to protect their worlds or their lives. Humanity was coming to New Busan to rescue people, who might already be lost at enormous risk to Earth itself. The aliens would not expect that kind of thinking. Fleet Admiral So-young Choi joined them via quantum communication from Earth. Her image appeared on the laboratory's main screen, and she looked as tired as everyone else involved in the mission. Captain, I have updated orders, she said. Intelligence analysis suggests the Kethvar fleet at New Busan has grown to over 2,000 ships. They're using the colony as a forward base for expansion. Jae-sung felt his jaw tighten. 2,000 ships against humanity's 800. The odds were not good, but they had expected this possibility. Admiral, what about Earth's defenses? Full mobilization, So-young replied. Every ship, every defense platform, every weapon we have is ready. If we fail at New Busan, Earth will be prepared for their arrival. But failure was not acceptable. Jae-sung looked at the star charts showing their route to New Busan. 11 months of hyperspace travel, with no possibility of reinforcement or resupply. Whatever happened at New Busan would be decided by the ships they brought with them. Dr. Song, So-young continued, have you completed the integration countermeasures? Haewon nodded. Yes, Admiral. We've developed electromagnetic pulse weapons specifically designed to disrupt Kethvar biotechnology without harming human nervous systems. If we can get close enough to their integration facilities, we can free the colonists. That's a big if, Jae-sung pointed out. We'll have to fight through their entire fleet first. That's where human tactical doctrine comes in, So Young said. The Kethvar fight like a hive mind. Perfect coordination, but no flexibility. Human fleet tactics are designed around independent command and rapid adaptation, the retribution. Fleet's battle plan was unlike anything attempted in human military history. Instead of engaging the enemy fleet directly, human ships would scatter across the new Busan system and attack multiple targets simultaneously. The Kethvar would have to divide their forces to respond, losing their coordination advantage. Remember, So Young continued, our primary mission is not to defeat their fleet. Our mission is to rescue our people. Every tactical decision should support that goal. After the communication ended, Jae-sung walked to the ship's observation deck. Through the reinforced windows, he could see other ships of the Retribution fleet traveling alongside the Incheon's Pride. Destroyers, cruisers, carriers, and specialized assault ships, all built for this one purpose. Commander Kyung-mi-oh, leader of the destroyer squadrons, joined him at the window. Sir, the crews are asking questions about the mission odds. What do you tell them? That we're not going to New Busan to win a battle, Kyung-mi replied. We're going to bring people home. That's what humans do. Captain Woo-jin Park, commanding the heavy cruiser squadron, appeared beside them. Sir, intelligence reports that some of the captured colonists may have been integrated for months. Even if we free them, they might not be the same people who were taken. Jae-sung considered this. The possibility that they might rescue people who were no longer fully human was one of the mission's worst nightmares, but it didn't change anything. Then we help them become human again, he said simply. We don't leave people behind because saving them is difficult. As the fleet continued toward New Busan, every day brought new intelligence and tactical updates. The Kethvar were strip mining the colony's resources and expanding their biofoundries. They showed no signs of moving to attack other human worlds, which suggested they didn't see humanity as a threat worth worrying about. That was about to change. In the fleet's communication centers, specialists worked on jamming systems designed to disrupt Kethvar hive mind coordination. In the weapon bays, engineers loaded special ammunition designed to punch through biomechanical armor. In the medical facilities, doctors prepared to treat injuries and conditions they had never seen before. One more thing, Haiwan told Jae-sung during their final briefing before arrival. The Kethvar seemed to communicate through quantum entanglement across their bio-networks. If we can disrupt that communication, their entire fleet coordination might collapse. How do we do that? Get me close to their command ship and I'll show you. Jae-sung smiled grimly. The plan was insane, desperate, and completely human. They were going to attack a superior enemy fleet, rescue 50,000 prisoners, and hopefully survive long enough to tell Earth about it. The Kethvar had made one crucial mistake. They thought the universe operated by their rules. That stronger species naturally conquered weaker ones, and that resistance was merely a temporary inconvenience before inevitable integration. They were about to meet a species that had different rules entirely. The New Busan system looked like a nightmare when the human fleet arrived. The beautiful floating islands that had made the colony famous were gone, stripped away and processed into raw materials. The planet's surface was covered with massive biofoundries that pulsed with sickly green light. Ships moved between the facilities in perfect formation, like ants serving their queen. Captain Jae-sung Kang stood on the bridge of the Incheon's Pride, watching the tactical displays with cold fury. Intelligence reports had prepared him for what they would find, but seeing it was different. This had been a human world, home to families and children. Now it was just another resource extraction site for the Kethvar Empire. Sir, passive sensors count 2,300 alien vessels, reported his tactical officer. They're spread across the entire system, but concentrated around the planet. Any sign of our people? Bioscans indicate large numbers of human life signs in the surface facilities, the science officer replied. They're alive, sir, but the readings are unusual. Jae-sung knew what that meant. The colonists had been integrated into Kethvar biotechnology for almost a year. Some might still be recoverable, but others might be changed beyond recognition. It didn't matter. They were still human, and humanity had come to take them home. All ships, this is Admiral Choi, came the communication from the fleet flagship. Execute deep strike protocol. Remember, our people are down there. Make every shot count. The human fleet scattered across the system like seeds thrown to the wind. This was humanity's answer to superior numbers and technology. Don't fight their battle. Fight your own battle. The Kethvar responded exactly as predicted. Their hive mind coordination was perfect for fighting conventional battles, but the human fleet wasn't fighting conventionally. While some human ships engaged the alien fleet directly, others slipped past the main force to attack the biofoundries on the planet's surface. Commander Kyung Mi-oh led her destroyer squadron through the outer system, hunting for isolated Kethvar ships. Her vessels were smaller and faster than the alien bioships, and they used that advantage ruthlessly. Target their communication nodes, she ordered as her ships closed with an alien patrol group. Disrupt their hive mind connection. Human weapons had been specifically designed for this fight. Instead of trying to match Kethvar biotechnology, Earth's weapons focused on what humans did best: precision strikes that hit exactly where they would do the most damage. The destroyer squadron's attack collapsed the Kethvar patrol's coordination in minutes. The alien ships began firing randomly, unable to communicate with each other or coordinate their defense. Kyung Mi's ships picked them off one by one. Captain Woo Jin Park's cruiser squadron had the harder job, breaking through the main Kethvar fleet to reach the planet. His ships were larger and better armored than the destroyers, but they were still outnumbered 20-1. "Sir, multiple contacts closing on our position," his tactical officer reported. "They're trying to surround us." "Let them," Woo Jin replied, calmly. "All ships execute Hammer Pattern 7. The human cruisers suddenly accelerated toward the planet, ignoring the Kethvar ships trying to trap them. Instead of fighting their way through the enemy fleet, they went around it, using their superior speed and maneuverability to reach their real targets. The Kethvar commanders were confused. Human tactics made no sense according to their understanding of warfare. Why would the human ships ignore tactical advantages to rush toward heavily defended positions? They didn't understand that humans weren't trying to win a space battle. They were trying to rescue prisoners. On the planet's surface, Dr. Haewon Song's electromagnetic pulse weapons began their work. Special bombs dropped from human fighters disrupted the biofoundry's power systems, shutting down the integration chambers that held the colonists. "We're getting movement in Facility 7, reported a pilot flying low over the surface. "Looks like people are getting out of the buildings." Across the planet, integration chambers failed as human weapons disrupted the Kethvar biotechnology. Colonists who had been trapped for months suddenly found themselves free. But they were still on a hostile planet surrounded by angry aliens. That's where humanity's planning paid off. Human landing ships descended through the atmosphere, protected by fighter squadrons that engaged any Kethvar forces that tried to interfere. The landing ships were designed like flying fortresses, able to take massive damage while loading refugees. Hyun-Woo Park stumbled out of a collapsing biofoundry, barely able to believe what he was seeing. Human ships filled the sky, fighting desperately to reach the surface. After almost a year of captivity, Earth had come for them. "This way," shouted a human marine, waving colonists toward a landing ship. "We're getting you out of here." The rescue operation was chaos, but it was organized chaos. Every human pilot and marine knew their job: get the colonists to the ships, no matter what it cost. They had trained for this mission for months, studying the layout of Kethvar facilities and planning extraction routes. In orbit, the battle raged between the human fleet and the Kethvar forces. The aliens were slowly winning through sheer numbers, but the humans only needed to hold long enough to evacuate the planet. "Sir, we're taking heavy casualties," reported Jae-sung's tactical officer. 17 ships destroyed, 34 heavily damaged. Status of the evacuation? 60% of the colonists are aboard our ships, but sir, we're running out of time. The Kethvar are concentrating their entire fleet against us. Jae-sung looked at the tactical display. The human fleet was being slowly crushed, but they were succeeding in their mission. In another hour, they would have most of the colonists. The question was whether they could survive long enough to escape. That's when Dr. Hae-Won-Song's final weapon came into play. She had spent months studying Kethvar communication technology, looking for weaknesses. What she found was better than a weakness. It was a fatal flaw. "All ships, this is Dr. Song," she broadcast on the fleet frequency. "I'm transmitting quantum disruption codes. Target them at the largest Kethvar bioships." The codes were designed to interfere with the quantum entanglement that allowed Kethvar hive minds to function. When human ships began broadcasting the disruption signals, the effect was immediate and devastating. Across the Kethvar fleet, ships suddenly stopped coordinating. Bioships that had fought in perfect formation began firing randomly or not at all. The hive mind that gave them their advantage collapsed into chaos. "Now!" Admiral So Young Choi's voice cut across the fleet communications. "All ships, full offensive. Hit them while they're blind." The human fleet attacked with everything they had. Ships that had been retreating turned and charged the confused Kethvar forces. The aliens had superior technology, but without coordination. They were just individual ships facing a unified human fleet. The battle turned in minutes. Kethvar bioships that had seemed invincible suddenly became vulnerable. Human weapons found their targets, and the alien fleet began to break apart. "Sir, the evacuation is complete," reported the communications officer. "All surviving colonists are aboard our ships." Jae-sung felt relief wash over him. They had done it. Against impossible odds, humanity had rescued their people from an alien empire. But the mission wasn't over yet. "All ships, prepare to withdraw," he ordered. "We're going home." As the human fleet formed up for the jump to hyperspace, Jae-sung looked back at New Busan one last time. The planet was scarred and changed, but it was free. The Kethvar biofoundries were burning, and their fleet was scattered. More importantly, 43,000 human beings were going home. Not everyone had survived their captivity, but humanity had proved something important. They don't abandon their own, no matter what the cost. The jump to hyperspace began, carrying the human fleet away from New Busan and toward Earth. But Jae-sung had a feeling this was only the beginning. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone threatened humanity's children. The human fleet should have returned to Earth after rescuing the New Busan colonists. That would have been the safe, reasonable thing to do. Instead, Captain Jae-sung Kang found himself studying star charts in his ready room, planning humanity's next move. "The Kethvar navigation data we captured shows 17 star systems under their control," Dr. Hae-Won-Song explained, pointing to the holographic display. "Each one is a processing center like New Busan was." "How many prisoners?" Jae-sung asked. "Millions. From at least 40 different species." Hae-Won's voice was quiet. "Some have been in captivity for over a century." Jae-sung looked at the data with growing anger. The Battle of New Busan had been just the beginning. The Kethvar Empire stretched across dozens of star systems, built on the suffering of countless enslaved beings. They had been doing this for generations, confident that no one would ever challenge them. "Sir," his communications officer interrupted, "Admiral Choi wants to speak with you." Fleet Admiral So Young Choi appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from Earth. Behind her, Jae-sung could see the lights of Geneva and the Terran Defense Command headquarters. "Captain, your mission was a complete success," she said. "The colonists are being treated and will make full recoveries. President Yang sends his personal congratulations." "Thank you, Admiral. What are our orders for the return trip?" So Young was quiet for a moment. "That depends on what you think we should do with this information." She meant the Kethvar navigation data. The locations of 17 slave worlds, each holding millions of prisoners from species humanity had never even heard of. Earth could return home, secure in the knowledge that the Kethvar were no longer an immediate threat. Or they could do something unprecedented. "Admiral, we have proof of the largest slavery operation in galactic history," Jae-sung said carefully. "These aliens have enslaved entire civilizations. They're still doing it." "I know. The question is whether it's humanity's responsibility to stop them." Jae-sung thought about Hyun-woo Park, the New Busan colony administrator who was now in the medical bay recovering from months of integration torture. He thought about the other colonists, especially the children who had been trapped in alien biomachines for almost a year. Admiral, what if it had been Earth instead of New Busan? What if we were the ones trapped in those facilities hoping someone would come? So Young smiled grimly. That's what I hoped you would say. Captain, you have new orders. The Terran Liberation Fleet is now a permanent galactic force. Your mission is to free every slave world in Kethvar space. The transformation of the human fleet began immediately. Ships that had been designed for a single rescue mission were refitted for extended operations. More importantly, they began taking on new crew members, former slaves who wanted to fight back against their captors. The first liberated species to join humanity were the Talar, a race of blue-skinned humanoids from the Kepler 1649 system. Their world had been conquered by the Kethvar 30 years earlier, and most of their population had been integrated into alien biotechnology. Your people freed us when you had no reason to help us, said Talar Captain Velnara, now serving aboard a human cruiser. We will fight beside you until every slave world is liberated, the pattern repeated across Kethvar space. Human ships would arrive in a system, defeat the alien forces using their superior tactics and coordination, then free whatever prisoners they found. Each liberated species brought new knowledge, new technology, and new fighters to the cause. The Kethvar tried to adapt to human tactics, but they faced a fundamental problem. Their entire society was built on the assumption that they were the strongest force in the galaxy. They had never prepared for a sustained war against an equally determined enemy. Sir, we're receiving communications from the Rigel system, reported the communications officer aboard the Inchan's Pride. It's not Kethvar. The message was in a language humanity had never heard before, but the translation computers quickly decoded it. The species called themselves the Zerani, and they had been fighting the Kethvar for over 50 years. Human fleet, we have monitored your attacks on the Hive Empire, the message said. We offer alliance against common enemy. Together we can drive the slavers from our galaxy. Captain Jae-Sung Kang accepted the alliance without hesitation. The Zerani had been fighting alone for decades, slowly losing ground to Kethvar expansion. With human tactical support and coordination, they began winning battles for the first time in years. News of humanity's campaign spread across the galaxy through quantum communications. Species that had never heard of Earth suddenly knew about the Terrans who appeared wherever the Kethvar had slaves and fought until everyone was free. We're getting messages from all over the galaxy, Ji-Yoon Kim reported. She had volunteered to serve aboard the Liberation Fleet after her recovery, becoming humanity's first galactic communications coordinator. 17 different species are asking for our help against Kethvar forces. The Liberation campaign grew beyond anything humanity had originally planned. What started as a rescue mission for one colony became a galactic war against the largest slave empire in known space. Human ships were spread across dozens of star systems, leading coalitions of freed species against their former captors. The war lasted 3 years. By the end, the Kethvar Empire had collapsed entirely. Their bioships were either destroyed or captured, their slave worlds were free, and their leadership was scattered across the galaxy. But the most important victory was not military, it was moral. Humanity had proved that slavery could be defeated, that no empire was too large or too powerful to be brought down by those who refused to accept injustice. Sir, we're receiving a priority message from Earth, Ji-Yoon reported as the Inchan's Pride orbited the former Kethvar homeworld. President Min-Ho Yang appeared on the main screen, looking older than when the war began, but smiling with genuine pride. Captain Kang, Admiral Choi, and all the brave souls of the Liberation Fleet, you have exceeded every expectation, he said. You went out to rescue 50,000 colonists and came back having freed millions of beings across the galaxy. The president paused, looking directly into the camera. But more than that, you have established humanity as a force for justice in our galaxy. The Terran Liberation Fleet will continue its mission, protecting the innocent and ensuring that no species suffers as the Kethvar's victims did. As the communication ended, Jae-Sung walked to the observation deck. Through the windows he could see ships from dozens of liberated species working together to build something new. a galactic community based on freedom and mutual respect, instead of conquest and slavery. Hyunwoo Park joined him at the window. The former colony administrator had recovered from his captivity and now served as civilian coordinator for the liberation effort. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Hyunwoo asked. "We could have just taken our people and gone home." Jae-sung thought about all the battles, all the ships lost, all the lives spent in the campaign against the Kethvar. Then he thought about the millions of beings who were now free because humanity had refused to accept that slavery was just part of how the galaxy worked. "Someone sent an SOS into deep space," he said quietly. "We answered it. That's what humans do." In the communication centers of the Liberation Fleet, Ji-yoon Kim was already receiving new messages from across the galaxy. Some were requests for help against other threats. Others were offers of alliance or trade. A few were simply messages of thanks from species that had never expected to see freedom again. She smiled as she prepared humanity's standard response to requests for help. It was simple, direct, and had become famous across the galaxy. "If you're in trouble, call us, we'll come." The galaxy had learned something important about the species from the small blue world at the edge of explored space. Humanity didn't just protect their own. They protected anyone who needed protecting. They didn't abandon people just because saving them was difficult or dangerous. And if you took their people, if you enslaved their children, if you thought you could treat humans as nothing more than resources to be harvested, you would discover that Earth's children had grown up strong, smart, and absolutely unwilling to let evil triumph just because it seemed too big to fight. The Kethvar had sent no SOS when their empire fell. No one came to save them from the consequences of their actions. But across the galaxy, billions of former slaves were free because one human colony had managed to send 3 letters into space, and Earth had answered with the fury of a species that refused to abandon its own.